Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Stoli Doli Scaries.
I'm your host, John Ritchie Jr.
And I'm Kyryn. And today we will be talking about the exciting conclusion of Sleepaway Camp. Just a reminder, our cocktail today is the Aunt Martha's Martini. Anytime you see Angela do her iconic weird stare, take a little sippy. We'll also remind you with the beautiful Dolly with his Stoli. When you see him, take a sip.
Take a sip.
Take a sip. All right, narrator, take us away.
Oh, my goodness gracious. We left off with just a gay pileup on the bed. I loved it. It's great. Now, we start the next day. The second half starts off with Paul in his swim trunks going down to the lake. He finds Angela sitting by herself, staring at everyone in the water. He comes up behind her, just like covers her eyes and says, "Guess who?" They play a little guessing game of who is this? Who could this be? Back and forth. At one point, she does say Burt Reynolds as a guess, which,
She's
they're
funny.
being kids. They're being silly. We love to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And she finally gives up and he lets go and says, "Surprise!" And they laugh with each other. It's feeling pretty wholesome.
She's
And
very flirty. This is a new lady. She says, "Who are you?" when he comes around. I was like, "Who's this?" She is Miss Confidence.
she's keeping it light. She's joking with him, and it's a new Angela. I love to see that from her because the second half of this film gets dark. So it's feeling wholesome, and maybe she's gotten past the kiss from the previous night. You know what I noticed in this? It's kind of like a little funny mistake is Angela and Paul are sitting on the bench, and then it cuts to like Judy going down to the water, and then when you cut back to them sitting together, he's fully drenched. He's like got wet hair and like water all over him. It's a funny moment, like continuity mistake where they're like have him with his a little bit drier hair, a little bit more disheveled, and then it cuts back and he's like fully
I did not
wet.
notice that. Johnny with the special eye.
Sometimes that happens in movies all the time, believe it or not, and you just don't really notice it. But I was
You
taking
did. That's not true.
hard notes. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But Meg starts to come over, and Paul says, "I think I'm gonna go back in the water. Talk to you soon, Angela." So he goes away, and then Meg ridicules Angela for not going in the water again, and then we get another Angela stare. She says, "What's the matter? Don't like to swim? Can you swim?" And a typical like, "I'm the boss of you."
Yeah.
She starts yelling at Angela.
She fucking loses it.
She loses her shit.
Oh my God, yeah.
She's getting more and more frustrated because she's not getting a response. And then she goes off the fucking deep end and starts shaking her and telling her to answer.
Yeah.
Answer me.
You know what? I kind of get it. Can you even imagine? Like, it's such a that's why I said it's such a boss move on Angela's part to pull this shit and to never break it. She just makes people feel so stupid. Like that, like and like just the rage that rises in Meg. It's unbelievable and so impressive. Just from a I can't even tell you how inspired I am by this movie. I will pull that. I will pull this move.
Everyone's looking for a reaction, and the fact that she's just like dead zone. It's frustrating. So
and we never really figure out what is inspiring this reaction from her. Even in the end, we don't. Why does she do this? We never ever really get an answer on that. Yes, difficult thing happened to her, and yes, she's raised by Aunt Martha. Woof. But like, we never really find out like why the fuck she's doing this.
Yeah.
Like, if she was just mute, that would be one thing. But this like deadlock stare is very purposeful. As I said, Homegirl knows what she's doing. She's no
Yeah.
fool. She's
Yeah.
fucking with these people big time.
So Meg loses her shit, starts shaking her. Ronnie comes to the rescue, breaks them up.
Again.
Asks what's going on. Meg says, "This little bitch won't answer me. She never does." Thank God for Ronnie. He asks if Angela's okay, which is what a normal person would and should do. And then lets Meg know that he wants to see her in his shack later. And I don't know, because we've already established that we're at a fuckery camp, that going back to Ronnie's shack later, I don't know what that means. Hopefully it's a reprimanding. But it could also be a
No, Ronnie's above it. Short shorts. I think he is the saint of the camp. I think he's got the purest intentions. He's wearing short shorts, but it was the time, and he
Was the
looks
time.
great in those short shorts.
And honestly, I feel like his the amount of skin that he shows in the second half starts to reel it
That
in a little bit
just came
further.
on the screen. You're totally right, because the shorts he comes in when he breaks up Meg and the whole thing, very tame. Very tame. They're pleated. The
They're
other ones,
pleated.
there was nothing. That was
Nothing.
skin. That was skin. That was literally skin tight. So
I mean, we
he's
still get the
taming it
big
down.
arms, but yeah, shorts are a little bit longer this time. Yeah, Ronnie reprimands her, says, "I'll see you later," like he needs to reprimand her. In this next scene, we see Judy coming out of the shower. They're in their cabin, the girls' cabin. She's coming out of the shower, drying her hair. She's got a red robe on, and we find Angela on the bed once again, staring at her. Judy then says we should all thank Angela for getting Meg in trouble earlier today. Angela calmly says that she didn't do anything.
I
And
didn't do
Judy,
anything.
I didn't
She's
do
so
anything.
soft-spoken.
You
So
know,
like sweet. What the fuck? Why is everyone so against her?
can someone just give this girl a sandwich and, stop being mean? She's not doing anything wrong.
Not doing anything.
Not even. Judy then says, "You never do shit," and throws a pillow at her while everyone else just watches.
Yeah,
And then
no
she,
one's going up against Judy. That girl is fucking scary. I'll admit it. I don't
honestly,
know if I'd do it.
the best actress in this film.
She gives a lot
She
in
gives a
this
lot.
role,
She gives a lot.
especially in this next scene. This is like,
yeah, and
big
it's
bonanzas.
very, very complex emotions, but also like as a young fucking kid to show all of that, I'm impressed. But
Yeah.
she is fucking evil. So, she throws the pillow at her, and then she goes back over to her and like takes it from her.
Immediately.
Immediately.
Give me that.
Give me that.
Gaslighting.
Give me that.
Just
And then she starts to walk away, and she shoots like the muggiest mug of all mugs in like pure disgust. She hates Angela. And then she turns that into this really creepy smirk and then asks Angela why she never takes a shower when the rest of them do. And she says, "You queer something?" Which I felt personally attacked when Judy said it, because I felt like that came at the screen and she was talking to me. And I was like, maybe I am. All right. I was like, this bitch. And then she says, "Oh, I know you haven't reached puberty yet. Is that it? I bet you don't even have your period." And then finally, Susie, the sweet angel that she is, tells her, "That's enough." And Angela is allowed to shower whenever she wants to. And Judy presses even harder by saying that she takes showers when no one else can see her. And probably because she doesn't have any hair down below. And then
ultimate diss.
ultimate diss, and also so embarrassing to talk to like the whole girls' bunk. This is just a ridicule moment. Judy is fucking going in hard. And then the next line, I mean, might as well be on a poster. She says, "She's a real carpenter's dream. Flat as a board and needs a screw." Wild.
It's so
Wild.
creative. I mean, evil. But like, how do you think of that at that age? That was crazy.
She
That
must have,
was, oof.
you know what? I'm attributing all of this to maybe Judy's home life. Maybe it's not that good. Maybe she's projecting a lot. I'm feeling
Maybe.
that. I'm feeling that energy, you know?
That's very kind of you.
She's
You're giving
unhappy.
people the benefit of the doubt. I don't do that. I don't do that. She's mean. She's a fucking dick for no reason. No, I said that at the beginning. I don't know if Angela hadn't been so weird to her from the get-go. I don't know if Judy would have targeted her, but nobody likes to be stared at. That is very rude. It is impolite. And even if you're going through something, just to give somebody without talking would set anybody off. And she did it to this fucking mean bully with the most clever, evil insults. And, you know, you get what you get. But she's a real carpenter's dream. Like, how old are you? What the fuck?
How do you,
It's so weird.
I don't even know what a carpenter is at that age.
I just knew Jesus was one. I had no idea any of this. I would have never, ever been clever enough to come up with that. That was wild.
You know, we get the goodness in Ronnie. We get the goodness in Susie at this point because Susie is fed up and she yells at Judy to stop. And Judy replies with a "fuck off." And then Susie slaps her.
Finally. Fucking finally. I'm amazed that nobody else has. Like, and immediately, as soon as she does it, she's like, oh, and she feels terrible.
Poor little thing. You can tell that she's just so embarrassed by like the fact that she got to that point.
Yeah.
Angela lets Susie know that she's gonna go down to see her cousin and that she'll be back before dinner.
I kind of wish Angela had been like, hey, thanks. I guess that would have been too much. But like, finally somebody stood up for her and stopped these things, besides her cousin, who obviously always comes to the rescue. But like, finally, somebody really stood up for her and said, knock it the fuck off. And we can't even get a, hey, like, all she say was, thanks, I'm going to go see my cousin. That annoyed me. You know, be appreciative, even though I am sure she's going through some shit. But
so then we see Angela walking across the lawn. We see the other boys from that lost the baseball game. They're up on the roof throwing water balloons at each other.
Why are they on the roof? What the fuck is going on here? That, like, this camp is a fucking wild zone. I don't understand. What would it make more fun? Roof balloons.
You know, as a kid who also liked to be on a roof, I will say that I'm going to let this go because I feel like if you're trying to figure out how to have fun, I would also be on the roof. Maybe smoking a cigarette.
Water balloon? Ciggies are different. Water balloon, that's danger. That's danger zone, buddy.
That was danger. I did get a little nervous at one point because they threw it at his foot, and I was like, he's going to fall off this fucking roof.
Yeah.
And one of them spots Angela walking across the lawn, and they devise a plan real quick. Ricky comes out to see Angela get pegged with a water balloon, and then goes off on the kids on the roof. And here's a little fun fact. I don't know if you know this. I heard that besides the fact that, okay, so I can't say his name, Jonathan
Kirsten,
who plays Ricky, two things. One, they misspelled his name in the credits.
Aww.
So they had to, like, yeah, it's fucked up. They misspelled. They got the I's and the E's wrong. Either way.
Oh, that's tough. I thought it was like a big one. Like,
no.
Teeter
like,
or something. Okay.
Yeah.
So they just fucked up the IE. Anybody could do that. That's just tricky.
Like completely wrong. No, but I heard that his audition for Ricky, that Robert Hiltzik, basically just said, like, I want you to yell and curse at me. Like, I just want you to, like,
yeah,
give me your best, have at it. And I feel like that's how he got the part of Ricky, which
Oh,
also
it's brilliant. Yeah.
translates to this scene so well
That's a
because
brilliant move. That's the whole movie for him. He is constantly fucking fighting people off who are for some reason messing with Angela. He is just Mr. Protector, but he is like tough kid. That's
yeah.
that's a really smart move. That's
So I
fun.
felt like he really needed that like young angst energy, and he got it. I mean, Jonathan, perfect for the role of Ricky.
Mhm.
Anyway, he goes up to them, or I guess like shouting from down below, right? He says, "You're gonna pay for this, cocksuckers, pricks, pussies, chicken shits." All of that, all of the good insults, just like
It's never ending. But this is the
it's
part
an
where I was like,
onslaught.
how old are these kids? Because the water balloon boys, which is what I will call them, come down and one looks like he is 11. Like that little blonde kid. He looks like
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
a fucking
yeah.
11-year-old.
Yeah.
And the other like blonde kid from the other scene looks like he's like 17. Why are they
Yeah.
hanging out together? What is this? This is weird. I don't
You
get it.
know,
Like it's all over the place.
I love Ricky goes off, tells them how it is. Paul comes out to find Angela on the ground and runs over to console her. And Mel, our director, comes out to control Ricky. Mel tells the kids to get off the roof immediately, which finally we're getting some like actual direction from a superior.
For the first
And
time. For the first time
for the
for Mel. Mel is like sweeping shit under this rug the whole movie.
oh my
Ain't doing
god,
nothing.
and it continues. Holy shit. Ricky tells Mel that they keep picking on his cousin, which is accurate. He lets them know that Mel tells Ricky that Ronnie is going to hear about this and there's going to be no canteen for a week, which
What
I
does
had
that
to look
mean?
this up.
Yeah.
Apparently, a canteen is a store in like a camp setting in which food, drinks, and small supplies are sold.
That's a relief. I thought he meant water.
Yep,
I was
I'm
I was thinking water. Like a canteen. I was thinking,
yes,
whoa, that seems extreme. But they
right?
are shitheads. So I
They
don't know. I don't know what the appropriate punishment would be there.
So Mel says, and if that ever happens again, that he's going to throw the whole bunch of them out of here, which I love. I love the whole bunch of them. It's cute.
Mm-hmm. I love this
Um,
shit.
I'm also thinking at this point, and like that a kid just died, uh, and not knowing that it was necessarily a murder, but like no one is thinking of it.
But they probably framed it in a he drowned way. And even though that would be really upsetting, not as upsetting as like a murder, that'd be
Mm,
like a
mhm.
much bigger deal.
It's
Nobody
it's
cares
just
about
very
Kenny.
interesting. I mean, maybe from like the kid's perspective too, that like people are dropping and they're thinking about throwing water balloons at each other.
That is a kid
Um,
mentality, though. You know
for
what I mean?
sure.
Like, oh,
Mm,
whatever.
mhm,
It's a Gen
mhm,
Z mentality.
mhm,
A
mhm,
Gen Z, I went to Ulta today and a Gen Z held the door for me. She said, I like your outfit. And it was just about one of the best things that's ever happened to me. It was just
Wow.
really magic. Um,
You know,
I was gonna say I'll cut
I'm
that out, but I won't because I want everyone to know about that. So
yeah,
that
and I
happened.
want everyone to know that I have a regular customer named Henry, who comes in, and I would like to go on a date. Henry, thanks. That's all. You get a
Definitely
peppermint
keeping that.
mocha if you see this.
Mention Stoli Dolly Scaries for a free peppermint mocha and a
I'm just
date
gonna
with
write,
John.
I'm just gonna write Stoli Dolly Scaries on his cup next time I see him, and hopefully he figures it out.
Quick. If he
Quick.
doesn't, then he's not good enough.
Isn't that just a rabbit hole to go down? Can you
Mm-hmm.
imagine seeing something on a cup and realizing, like, what the fuck
It'd be
is
a
this?
really cute. It'd be a
Look at it.
cute, like a meet cute. That'd be so cute. You know?
Um, I also love how insensitive Mel is. Just like goes up to Angela, who's like sitting on the ground wet, and is just like, "You all right?"
You
Paul's
better
like, "Yeah,
change. You're gonna
she's
get
fine."
pneumonia. It's fucking summer. What the fuck, buddy? What's going on?
Yeah, dust your stuff off. Get up and change. It's almost time for dinner. That was
That
more
was really
Boston.
good.
That was a little more
It was really
Boston.
Boston, but I liked it. That's what I can never master. I can do New York because it's so like overt, but Boston's like more subtle. Boston's
Yeah.
like, Dunkin Donuts. Yeah, it's still New York. It's so hard. Oof. Gotta
Oh
master that
man.
one.
No, usually it's like park the car in the yard, something like that. So Ricky and Paul pick Angela up, and we're off to the next scene. One of the main assholes from the balloon throwing group gets back to his bunk. He runs over there and finds the fellas who are preparing to play another game of baseball.
That's all they do here.
But he lets them know quickly that he has to take a wicked dump first, and that he'll see them down there. So he gets his reading material, he goes into the stall, drops his shorts, and sits down to take a dookie.
I was gonna say, like, he's one of the hottest ones out of all of them. Like, of all of that group of assholes. Like, he was like very good looking fella. And
You
then the
said it.
wicked dump. It's just like, why are boys so gross? Who the fuck says that? I gotta take a wicked dump. That is just so
That was
vile.
almost Boston.
See, I teeter.
Wicked.
Teeter.
Gotta take a
Wicked. I want to like. I always think of the SNL like skit with Casey Affleck where he's like the Dunkin Donuts.
I'm like the mayor of Dunkin'. This is the face of Dunkin' Donuts right there.
Hey, you can't smoke in here, man.
I'm not, Mark. I'm not smoking
You're
in here.
smoking in here.
It's outside. I was just
It's coming in through the cracks.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I try so hard to base everything off of that, but it's very special. It's a specialized.
It is.
I'll get it one day. I know
a very burned in my memory skit, which I love.
I know. That's a really good one.
He gets his reading material. He goes into the stall, drops his shorts, sits down on the pot. And then we see someone. We start to get a little bit of the intense music. And then a broomstick, or what I think is a broomstick, goes through the doors of the bathroom stalls. So it's like he can't get out. And we're like, oh shit, something's about to go down. We see a hand holding a knife cut open the screen behind where this kid is pooping. They push they cut like a slash in the screen, and then they stick like a stick a limb of a tree holding a beehive on it. They put it through the screen, and they do a little shake, which then drops the beehive, and there's bees stinging this kid mercilessly.
Yeah, and he's trying to get out, and he's trying to, like, obviously can't get out because
honestly, this is a pretty clever kill. Not gonna lie.
This is my favorite kill of the movie. I love this one because it's so creativity is there. Like, of all the kills, this is the one I would least want to happen to me. I have a beehive following you while you're pooping. I mean, it's like, what? Evil. That is the worst case scenario.
These bees fuck this kid up.
So quickly. That would never happen. I mean, like, he drops the hive. That dude is fucking eaten. Like, that. This is my favorite kill, but it's also the least realistic kill. Unless you are the kid from My Girl, I can't imagine having this type of reaction to because maybe it fell on his head. We don't know if it fell on his head. If it fell on his head, perhaps. So there's a lot of questions on this one because we don't see it.
We don't see it.
Yeah.
It's up to the imagination. Either way, we do see that this motherfucker can't get out of the stall because the broomstick is locking him in. So he's screaming bloody murder. He eventually breaks the broomstick and gets free. However, at this point, we just see his lifeless body on the floor, covered in bees. You know what? And I didn't realize, but I looked this up too. They use raspberries for the stings on his arm. You can actually see a raspberry on his arm, but it looks like 3D, like coming out.
I was gonna say this is another one of the, like, where the makeup was really amazing, really over the top. Raspberries.
Raspberries. You know,
Yeah.
you can use them for
Creative.
anything.
Yeah.
Very creative.
Mm-hmm.
I
That's
love
what you gotta
it.
do on a $350K budget. We pulling
Seriously.
raspberries out for these feasts.
Honestly, would still work today.
Mm-hmm.
Then another kid down. We'll say that. R.I.P. Mel in the next scene is finished. He's wiped out. And he asks Ronnie how many are left. Which
The whole camp minus 3 people.
I mean, there must have been only 30 kids or something. Ronnie says we got 25 kids left. It's at this point that Mel says, we might as well just pack everything and shut down. Nobody's ever going to send their kids here again. And honestly, I'm thinking, why would they ever, in the first place, send their kids to this?
Well, this is like the first kill that he can't explain. Like, and to be fair, Artie didn't fucking die. Unfortunately, Artie is still kicking with his boils. So really, it's two. It's two kids. One drowned, and that was an easy explain. This one, not so easy.
Ronnie, in a more clear-headed manner, says, why don't we just finish the summer, and tomorrow he'll consolidate the bunks. That makes a lot more sense than having everybody spread out. So
Right.
Mel says, yeah, why make things easier for the killer? He's convinced that one of these kids is killing the others, and he says, I've known all along, and I've seen the hate in his eyes. And we all know that he's thinking about Ricky.
Which is just a wild jump because he's never mentioned that. He's never looked suspicious of Ricky other than saying, like, oh, you got a potty mouth. But he's never ever looked at him. And all of a sudden, it is like he has got a target on his back and Ricky is the one. He is like crazy eyes. Like, what did Ricky do? Ricky didn't do nothing. Ricky's protective. You know, that's a bit over the top, Mel.
Just a little. But he finally says, now I'm going to stop him. And Ronnie thinks he's talking crazy, which is rightfully so. Then we get to Angela at night outside her bunk area. And she's looking around for somebody. She's searching. And then we get the perspective of someone in the bushes watching her, which I thought was the killer, but then we get some ominous music playing until Paul comes up behind her again and spooks her from behind, which is very much like Paul since he did the hand cover over the eyes.
He likes
Yes,
a surprise. He's a
You know,
surpriser. That's cute.
I kind of like a
Me
surprise.
too.
Paul's speaking to us, although we can't say he's attractive because he's 11 years old. So nobody said that.
I didn't say none
No.
of that.
Mm-mm.
No. I like his energy.
You know what we can say? Cute kids.
Very,
Cute kids.
very
You know,
sweet.
we love to see it.
Very much.
She's spooked, obviously. She says, I thought you were the killer. So Paul says, come on, don't tell me you believe all that baloney. And she says,
Hey,
well, then,
baloney, Paul. People are dying.
people are dying. She says, well, then what happened to Billy? And Paul thinks someone was playing a joke and it got out of hand with the beehive.
And that's
stuff.
what I said. I said that could have potentially been explained away by that. It's a little bit too coincidental that Artie, like the bee, if one of these things had happened, I think but like for all of these things to happen, like boom, 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 it is a little bit suspicious.
You know what I say? These kids seem to be taking death pretty well.
Oh, they're kids, you know.
Just like, yeah, kids,
Just
whatever,
kids
death.
being kids, yeah. No worries.
I don't know if I'd be taking it as well.
I don't think you would.
I think I'd be like under the fucking bed, just like with a flashlight.
That's a tough age though, because they're at an age where like they're probably Well, we don't know. That hasn't been established how old these fucking kids are supposed to be. But if you're like 12, 13, 14, that's the age where you're starting to be like, tough guy. I'm independent. I'm not scared of nothing. And so I don't know if they would be super showy about being afraid, but literally nobody is afraid is the crazy thing. Like, not a single soul in this camp is scared. None of them.
No.
All age groups are fine. So that's the shocking part,
It's very interesting. I don't think I would be reacting the same, but anyway, Paul thinks that they're playing a joke or a joke got out of hand. And then he says to her, "Come on, let's get out of here before we get caught. ... or murdered." So
too soon.
he's being funny.
Yeah, he's too soon, Paul. Too soon.
That's why they're fine with death. She asks where they're going, and he says the lake. So they run down there, and they start making out. She's totally into it now.
It's like riding a bike. Once you get going, it's
once
nothing.
someone shows you attention, and you're like, "Oh my god, I haven't felt this before, and I know I should be like probably progressing in some space." It's and when you're that young, shit is weird, complicated. You're like, I don't even know how to kiss. You're like practicing on your hand, right? Maybe. I don't know. I didn't do that.
I did it. I did it till a very old age. I'll say it.
Well,
you gotta do what you gotta do.
If you're admitting it, then I'm admitting it. Yeah. You kiss a mirror maybe once in a while, and you're just like, what does that look like? I'm admitting a lot. Okay, we're gonna stop there.
You gotta test your skills. You gotta know. What's better than a hand?
Not much. I'm just kidding. So they go down the lake. They're making out. She's totally into it. She even throws her leg over top of his a little bit, but then trips him. So I love that.
They're just, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable who this girl is. She is flirtatious. She's funny. She's silly. She's confident. But you don't do that unless you're confident. She trips him and pushes him and then runs away, and he chases her. It's like this unbelievable scene. I'm like, what? From 0 to 60.
Yeah.
I didn't have that type of luck.
Like a moth to a flame. These kids are flirting heavy, right? And then she runs off. They chase after each other. Paul tackles her to the ground, and they begin to make out again. But then Mr. Grabby Hands Paul starts to unbutton Angela's shirt. Just a little. But she says, "No, don't." Which, gotta listen.
Means no, Paul.
Well, he goes back and says, "I'm not doing anything," and then goes back at it, tries to unbutton a little more, and she lays there letting him, and we get kind of a Angela stare. We'll give that one, maybe we don't drink to that one.
No, that's a sad one.
It is. We get a little stare up to the sky.
That's
and
like
then,
not a menacing stare. That's like a I'm checking out because I'm uncomfortable stare, which is a sad stare.
Yeah. And then we go to a flashback. We see two kids who are giggling. And it's the two young kids that we saw before that were on the boat with the dad who got scalped. And they're in the doorway, and they're watching their father, John, and this other man in bed together. Who it was the guy on the beach who said, "John." He's there. They're seemingly naked together. I mean, they have their shirts off. They're under the covers. They're, the guy is caressing John's hair.
They're looking at each other like very longingly. Like,
they're sharing a tender moment.
Yeah.
I love to see that, especially for like a 1983 movie. I'm like, wow, this is so cute. Well, I can say, for the kids, we can say cute. For the adults, we can say this is special. I don't know. It's a queer love story, and it feels very wholesome in some of the other moments. So the kids continue their laughing, as kids do. But then we cut to a scene where the kids, brother and sister, apparently are in bed together, and they're potentially trying to either like imitate what they saw between their parents or between their father and the other person. And I mean, on the surface, it seems like the younger boy is pointing at the young girl who's in front of them, but they're like sitting on a bed.
Yeah.
And the camera sort of like circles around them. And as it keeps circling, his finger gets closer and closer to the little girl. And it feels like, if it's an imitation or if it's just like trying to figure out, explore, whatever, the young, what young kids do, the young mind, they're figuring it out, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like his finger gets closer and closer to touching her. And then I noticed in the first take, like, their faces go from like laughing, giddy, haha, to then like, as it's getting closer to a little bit more serious.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like overtly different because, like you said, like they're giggling, like young kid, like they don't get it, like and then I don't even think that scene between them is like supposed to be like I don't know what it's supposed to be. Like it just seems like they're curious, just like curious kids, like they're fully like they're just sitting on this bed, kind of like And so it's a very different energy than the scene before that. I don't know really what it's supposed to portray. It's very ambiguous.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And I think it's I think from the scene that we just came from, and then to understanding what's Angela's mind right now, and to maybe give a little context to the like quietness of her
Yeah.
at some point, is that the camera gets to a point where the boy is very close to touching the sister, and then we get kind of zapped back to Angela on the sand saying no very loudly. And so before it was like, no, don't. And now it is a very serious, like,
Get
no.
the fuck off. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I think that Paul in this moment is a little deflated. And that, is that them's the breaks, kid,
That's showbiz, baby.
That's showbiz. She fucking was excited, and then we hit a wall, and then Angela runs off and Paul's deflated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's where we'll leave it. The next day, Jean, crop top counselor, and another
so glad
counselor.
You learned his name. I've been calling him crop top.
I watch it with subtitles, so they said Jean, so I'm going to take Jean. And another counselor who I don't think we've ever met, but they're dwindling. They only got 25 peeps now, so maybe somebody stepped in. They decided to go off of a different schedule for the day, and they gathered the kids to play Capture the Flag.
It's a good one.
That's a good one. Honestly, though, who knows what these kids are playing, because they're just really like running around in a circle.
Unbelievable. I was like, that's not how you play the game. They're literally all in the center of the field, just like fucking running into each other. I'm like, what the fuck? Do you not know the rules? It's about strategy.
It's about strategy. I do think what's interesting, and I've never played Capture the Flag this way, but they have like little what is it?
Like little flags on their
attached
on their
to
belts.
them. On their belt, which I didn't have as a kid. So Capture the Flag was just like, you get tagged, you're out.
Yeah,
you're trying to get
it
to
is a fancier version. You're right. I don't know if I ever played with the flags either.
These kids are running in a circle, and
it's weird.
They're not playing right, and somebody needs to tell them. We, however, get to catch up with Paul and Angela, who are side by side. Paul doesn't understand why Angela got so upset last night. He said, I wasn't doing anything that bad, was I? And she says, I'm sorry, Paul, I wasn't ready. This is a deep moment, because this is truly the mind meld of what's happening. And also, I do believe in this scene that both of them are trying to understand. But then, we get differences.
You know, I feel like it's look. I think I have a hard time because I do need to take into consideration Paul's age. He's what, 13, and the ladies
Maybe.
got a crush on her. You
Hmm.
think yeah, they gotta be like 13. I can't imagine they're more than that. And but she says, I'm sorry, Paul. I guess I just wasn't ready. And at
Hmm.
first he's like, oh, I understand. And then he gets weird and grabby, and then he like puts his arm around, like, I get it.
Hmm.
And I was like, what the fuck? Like, why'd you do that? I'm just so disappointed in him. Like, he had such potential to be so sweet, and he's icky kind of here.
I think it's hard to decipher like the intention between both of them. Like I really feel like, because he says, I wasn't doing anything that bad, was I? He's asking for clarification, and she says, I wasn't ready. Fine, right? That makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
Especially, and we need to delve deeper into Angela's mind, but then he says, hey, I understand. And then he puts his arm around her.
But he has a menacing smile. It's not it's not like, oh, I understand. Oh, I understand. He like wiggles his eyebrows. It's like, what the fuck's going on here? Do you understand, Paul? I don't think you do. It's confusing.
I think it is confusing. There's subtleties in there. I want to believe.
I know you do.
chose to believe when I watched it that he really did understand. Now, when I think the arm around is where we get like, don't overstay your welcome, And then she says, please don't, and pushes his arm off. So I feel like it's still in a fine space. But then he gets a little bit angrier and says, what's the matter with you?
What's the matter with you? Now we're blaming her. No. Me no likey. Me no likey. I'm not okay with this, Paul.
My Libra self is balancing it out. I really, like it's a hard scenario. I'm not gonna lie, because I really feel like these young kids, they're trying to figure it out, and I think it's almost an okay space to be like, I just don't get it, and also like, him saying, well, what's the matter with you? I felt like it's said in that way. In one can believe that it is like, oh my God, I can't believe that you're saying that. Or it could be like, he's really kind of trying to understand, but I'm not ready. And they're kids. This is the hard shit to figure out when you're growing up. But she says she has to go and walks away. He tries to get her attention before Miss Judy comes slithering up and says, let her go. I don't know why you keep bothering with her. She's so small.
What a weird thing to say. She's so small. Judy is a fucking pocket-sized bitch.
With that fucking side pony.
And no.
I really should have had a side pony for this whole thing. She's so small.
It's a weird, like, Judy's the worst.
What I do like in this moment, and what I figure also what gives Paul a little bit of a says, what do you know? But then in her seductive ways, she says, I know a lot of things.
Ooh.
So now Ricky runs up to Angela, who is taking her walk. And he lets her know that he has a great plan to get the flag on the other team. We just have to cut through the woods and sneak up behind them. It's a foolproof plan. You go in one way, he'll go the other. Angela doesn't want to play, but Ricky needs her. And he's
And
also...
Ricky's been there for her. Big time,
Exactly.
baby. So
he convinces her that once they capture the flag, they don't have to play anymore, which is in Angela's best interest. So they sneak through the woods, and then Ricky, while he's going through, overhears Judy with Paul saying, "Oh, come on, no one will see us. And will you loosen up already?" Ricky sees his best friend with his old girl kissing him. And then she says, "That wasn't so bad, was it?" And then Paul says, "I guess not."
which is a
And
ringing endorsement.
he says, I was trying to get with this girl. I was doing all the nice things. Thought I was being sweet, but I went overboard a little bit. And then this seductress comes in, and he's, she's doing a little finger dance on top of the trousers. And maybe that is hitting a little bit different in the mind of the kid who from the beginning was like, knockers. They're not thinking, they're thinking with the downstairs and not the upstairs,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's tough age. Tough
Tough.
age.
We'll say it.
Yeah.
Tough. So he goes in for another smoocheroo. And Angela at this point is on the side of them and witnesses the second kiss. She sees it. She's heartbroken. She runs off in the other direction. Paul goes after her. And I also, even in the, calling out her name after, he realized he fucked up. And also, he wants to... Angela was the one he wanted, and that's the sad part. I love the next part, which is just Ricky bypassing Angela and telling her she's a real scumbag. She tells him, "Fuck you. You're just jealous." And then he walks away, giving her a finger, the middle
And
finger.
you can tell in her eyes, though, she's even though
I love
she's
it.
fuck you or forget you, you can tell in her eyes, she feels like a piece of shit. She feels like a loser. He got to her,
I wrote this in my notes. I said her acting at this point in time is genius. She loves to be the villain, but you see that she's actually really quite upset. Later, we see Paul coming out of the water and asks Angela if he can sit next to her. She's on the bench. She's staring off. She doesn't respond. Paul apologizes for what happened. He says he doesn't know what happened and that she just wouldn't leave him alone. So I
he's
also think
very
it's
remorseful. You can
He
tell he's
is.
feeling it, and he's sad.
And I also think it's important to say that she was being very persistent. He wants her to give him another chance. He says, "Will ya?" And then here comes Miss Bitch to interrupt.
Back together so soon? Boy, Angela, you sure are forgiving. Especially after he told me what a prude you are.
And then Paul looks you can tell in his eyes. He did it. He did say that. It was very difficult to come back from Paul.
So that they must have shared some conversation about him and Angela
Which
and
is
what
the
was
biggest
happening.
betrayal. You shared your feelings with another girl. That's awful. You confided in her about somebody you were seeing who wasn't, that's so awful. It's unforgivable. It's awful.
I feel like I'm reliving being 11 again. This is bad. This is really bad. Fuck. So Paul's fucked up the river at this point. He's shocked. that Judy would bring
The
this
look
up.
he gives her, oh my god, pure like panic and shock, and he doesn't say anything. He doesn't even like refute it. He's not like, I never said that. He's just like, I got like, does he say I gotta go or something? And he walks
Yeah.
away. And you
Yeah.
know he fucking said it. And it's like,
I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. How dare you?
No. And in the same moment of Paul walking off, Judy in her devilish grin is so happy that she has pulled this off. And she says, "Bye, Paul." And then to Angela, it's really no big deal. How about a little swim, huh, Angela? What do you say we get that beautiful bod of yours into the water? Ricky at this point crosses over the grass. He's about to go into the water too and get to the lake before Mel stops him, tries to have a chat with him. And Mel just kind of like asks how he's doing. Ricky, like, how's your summer been? He's trying to get to the bottom because after that last scene we saw him, he's like trying to find out who this killer is. Ricky says, "Oh, it's fine. It would just be a little bit better if we had more guys around because then we can have a full game of ball, like a full baseball game."
yeah,
Normal kid talk.
yeah.
But Mel is searching for answers and
Like
says,
the way he's looking at him is so like, it's wild. He went from 0 to 60. He barely looked
No.
at this kid, and now he is the culprit
No.
of the murders. Like,
he became a detective real quick. He says, it's a shame so many of them had to leave. Then we cut back to Judy with Angela, urging her to get in the water. Angela continues to stare, and Judy says, "What's the matter? You afraid? Well, say something, you spoiled little bitch." And then Meg comes up and says, "What's the problem?" And then it's like Judy in her like baby talk. "Our good friend Angela doesn't feel like going in the water today."
that was
And
very
then
good.
Meg, them bouncing off of each other. It's like the fucking evil stepsisters.
Mm-hmm.
And Meg says, "Oh, she doesn't, does she? Well, I think we can fix that." And she picks Angela up over her shoulder and carries her to the dock.
What the fuck is going on? This
She
is
said,
one of the
"Nope."
weirdest scenes of the movie to me. What the fuck? It was already so weird that she was bullying a child. A child. She picks her up. Picks her up. It's crazy.
her.
This screen is like, it's wild. It's an absolutely wild
is.
scene.
What's even crazier in this part is like she lifts her on her shoulder. She's taking her to the water. Angela is screaming bloody murder. She's like, "Stop, put me down," all this. And Mel and Ricky are still talking, so there's like they're in the foreground, and you see her going off in the distance, taking Angela to the water. Ricky spots her and Meg going to the water and goes to help. Mel holds him back, thinking he's hiding something.
Like hard. He like
And
grabs his arm like really hard. Like,
Yeah.
where you going, huh? Like, what? This is a wild camp. This is
Yeah.
unbelievable.
that's why I'm saying I'm staying true to us not ever going to summer camp. It's probably, thank God we didn't. We turned out
Yeah.
okay, maybe.
Parent Trap was a lie. This is reality. This is scary shit.
And for all of our viewers who are listening who went to summer camp, they should actually let us know if they have gone or haven't and
I
what
bet it
their
was actually
experience was.
glorious. I actually really bet it was. Because you know what? If none of the murders here had happened, this would have been fucking fun. It seems like it would have been fun.
Balloons
They're playing
making
baseball
out.
games. Like, people are pulling knives and it's all laughs. It's faces and butts. And it's just like, it's just chaos. It seems like anything goes at this place.
Wow.
You know?
Fun without the murders. That's the new
Mm.
tagline. It in this scene it turns pretty dark.
Mhm.
And Mel says to Ricky, like, she always gets into trouble and you run to her rescue. He says, "You try to take care of everybody. How are you going to do it this time?" As he's holding him back. Which is like, Mel has been fully convinced that Ricky is the killer, and he's holding him back from saving his cousin. And Angela is pleading with Meg not to throw her in the water because she doesn't know how to swim, which is real fucking hard.
She
And
doesn't know how
Mel,
to swim. And her camp counselor throws her in and nobody stops it. Everyone's just like looking. Are people cheering it on? Like nobody, either people don't care at all or nobody's stopping it. And it's just like, what the fuck is happening here? This is, talk about assault. This is evil. This is evil behavior. It's awful.
it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, Mel is yelling at Ricky, holding him back. Ronnie, fucking our main guy, comes to the rescue,
Yeah.
pulls Mel off of Ricky and says, "What are you doing?" Essentially.
He's the
At the
only
same
level-headed
moment,
person at this camp. It's unbelievable.
honestly. And then Meg throws Angela in the water. She's having trouble like keeping her head above, and Ricky and the lifeguard finally try and help her up as Judy and Meg are just laughing at her. It did, in this scene, it felt kind of like the Carrie moment of like everybody
Totally.
laughing
Yeah.
until she snaps. And like honestly, I would like it's rightfully so.
Yeah.
As the audience, I wanted to see like these people
Die. You're rooting for them to
die.
die. You know,
Mhm.
100%.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All of them. Kids throwing sand on her. The fuck? It's crazy.
No.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Okay. So I love that the fucking lifeguard and Ricky pull her out of the water, and the lifeguard looks at both of them and says, "You're a real peckerhead, Meg."
Peckerhead. What
You
a
know that?
insult. Yeah.
I love that.
And
I
you
love
can
a
see Meg, she's like, her and Judy are laughing. Then he says that really to Meg because Judy is
Yeah.
the fucking kid and
Mhm.
Meg is an adult. If not an adult, we don't really know what she is. But
She's
the
older.
person in charge. She's the authority figure.
Yes. She's the supervisor.
This is nuts.
And you are acting like the kid. You threw the kid in the fucking water. That's why I love that lifeguard.
Yeah.
You're a real peckerhead, Meg.
Big time. And Meg look like she's like laughing with Judy, and then he says that, and she's like, you can tell like little part of her feels like a loser, like, but not long enough. But you can tell for like a moment she's like, "Am I a loser?"
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
are.
You know, I love eat shit and live, Meg, and also you're a fucking peckerhead.
Yeah.
How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Angela continues coughing because she's like trying to catch her breath from the water she just swallowed. Can't even swim.
Yeah.
Ricky consoles her on the bench, but it's interesting that he says, "A, it's okay. Everything's gonna be all right." Love that. So sweet.
Yeah.
And in the same breath says, "We won't let them get away with this. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I promise.
Love that.
We won't."
Love that.
Yeah.
Ricky's the man.
It's at this point that, like, as I'm watching, I'm like, maybe Ricky could kill these fuckers. You know?
I agree.
Maybe
I agree.
maybe Mel wasn't spinning some shit, but also, you know, he's got a temper. But
Big
I
time.
really feel like it is rooted in protection for family. And that
Yeah.
is like, that's like one of my core values. Like, I can protect my family at all costs. Right?
Totally.
So now we get to nighttime, and the staff is having a little meeting. Ronnie's heading the meeting, talking to the counselors about the event planned for that night, which is a social. And Ronnie decides who is off for the night and who has to work the event. The one guy, what is his name? Eddie? One of the counselors he tells him he's got to take the kiddos camping. He's got to feed them breakfast in the morning, a little breakfast sandwich, and says who has off for the night, and Meg is one of them.
Why isn't that girl in trouble? That's what I want to know. Everybody saw what she did. Why does she have the night off?
Mm.
That really burned me. There's
You know,
no
maybe.
repercussions at this camp.
Yeah. I mean, what even happened with the reprimand at the shack? What is this? Slap on the wrist? Is that it? What do we say? You're in detention?
Maybe they can't afford to lose any more counselors, so they can't afford to lose anybody
Seriously.
else. So anything
Seriously.
goes, but
It's a no holds bar mentality. Meg goes over to Mel and says, I was thinking, remember that dinner you promised me up at your place? And then he gets kind of sidetracked from his work. And says, oh, yeah. What about 9:30? This guy's a fucking sleazeball.
beyond.
And now we really know what motherfucking camp we're at. Head honcho director is trying to get this 16-year-old cat.
But why? We know why he's going after her. What's going on with her? We talking about Judy's pet. What's going on with Meg? You know what? Like, why is she trying to impress Judy, who's at the very least a couple years younger than her, if not majorly? What's going on with Mel? He's not even a Jeff Bridges. He's not a handsome older fella. He's wearing socks to his knees. Like, he's sick. It's so gross.
You know what?
Cigar. Like, I got so many questions for Meg. You know, we all have our
Seriously.
preferences, but whoa.
Seriously. Any worse than would have been Artie.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the deal. I'm not gonna knock anyone who's like into a little older situation. You know, you do you. I think this guy. What are you interested in? A cigar? Are you interested in the fact that he's the head of the camp?
I
What
think
is
that's
it?
what it is.
I don't know. I think it's fucking gross. I think you know.
I think you were onto something before with the power thing. I think,
Hmm.
which, you know, he's not the president. He's not he's the leader of this icky camp.
When I first watched this, I was like, holy shit. I said, that's a lot older.
A lot.
You know?
A
You
lot.
know, I could see maybe Ronnie. You know?
Oh yeah. Well, I can see Ronnie for sure.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with old. Got nothing against old, but he's not a good-looking man. Like, bottom line, he's not.
There
He's
is something
saggy.
wrong with old when you're fucking 16.
We don't know that she's 60. Maybe she's of age. We don't know. We don't
She
know.
is- She is not of age. I'm going to put that out there.
Well,
I'm going to say no. And also, I'm going to reprimand her as an audience member. Not allowed. Not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say it that way to get the
Not
emphasis.
allowed. Yeah. It's really weird. I don't really know what to make of it.
It's puzzling.
Quite.
She returns to the bunk to grab a towel. And Angela is sitting there staring on her bed. Another drink alert. Judy asks, what are you so happy about? Meg says, I got a date tonight. And Judy asks, with who? And Meg says, it's a secret.
Rightfully so.
So Meg goes to the, I guess it's like sort of a communal, but maybe not. Maybe it's a single. Either way, there's a line for everyone to get in the shower. And the girls' line is too long. So Meg decides to go to the next door bunk, because the water is still running. Meg is taking a shower when the cabin door of that bunk opens, and we see a shadowy figure holding a knife. You can tell that is at least the case. And she's singing to herself, and
It's a very weird shower.
It is a weird one. She's like, like, I mean, I've done this before, but
Like the way that she's like soaping up is just really strange. It's very movie shower, you know.
It is.
Nobody showers like that.
It's giving movie shower. She's, drinking the water. She's humming.
Yeah.
Little moment. And then at some point she leans up against the side. It's just a single person shower. So she leans up against the side at some point, and the knife goes right into the shower wall and right into her back, and just like down.
Down. This is the
Drags
most
it.
brutal kill. I take the bees any day. Like this, like I feel like I could feel it going into her spine, and when it's happening, she's like it had lasts for so
You know what?
fucking long.
It is a really long time that she's in agony, and also, quite honestly, not really great acting, if I do say so myself. It's a it's kind of like a back scratch, but either way, she's getting knifed into her spinal area and ripped
Big time.
downwards. So then we get just like a shot of the killer cleaning the knife in the shower water.
Yeah. And then shuts off the water.
Then
Cares
shuts off the water.
Water conservation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Friend to the earth.
That's true.
Mhm.
You know, we would hope that one would be after they just sliced and diced.
That's a Scream reference. I got that.
You got it?
Mhm.
We've been talking about it a lot.
it,
Wait
you
till
know it.
October. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
In the last 20 minutes, we do see a lot of things happen in this film. The kids, we get a snapshot of them off camping, which we know Eddie is thrilled to be doing, but one of the kids brought an axe with them, which is just, what are we, cutting up firewood? I don't know. We see Angela leaving the social that was held that night and runs into Paul on the stairs. And she asks him if he's seen Ricky. And Paul says that he was in the bunk not too long ago, not feeling well, but may come out later. And then he decides to apologize yet again. He apologizes for being wrong. He said he knows that he was wrong. He says, I didn't mean what I said. I was just so pissed off. She stays quiet pretty much through the entire interaction. And then good old Judy pushes through them and she says, "Excuse us, kids," and like pushes between them. And then I think it's good to say that Paul says, "I really hate that girl." And he pleads again, like, "I'm really sorry." And she looks away, kind of off into the distance, and with her back turned to him says, "Meet me at the waterfront after the social."
She says it really weirdly too, like, meet me at the waterfront after the social. It's not like, okay. I mean, it's like very like she's in a trance or something.
And of course, in true Paul passion, when he's excited, says, "I'll be there." Whatever it is.
I think that's really sweet.
It is.
I like it. I like that about Paul. He wears his
yeah.
excitement on his sleeve.
I know, he's excited. He wants her
to forgive him. He feels bad.
Wants to get, wants to get wet. Then we get the camping kids who are all trying to fall asleep. They're all in their sleeping bags. One of them is arguing with Eddie and says he's cold and wants to go back to the cabin. And then they are, all the kids are just like, I want to go back too. I don't want to be cold either. And I love when he says, "How
cold could it be, man? It's summer. What the fuck's happening in this place? Pneumonia?"
I can identify with some of those because honestly, and this is the dramatic part of me, I really like to be cold when I'm sleeping. And then when I'm too cold, I'm like, ooh.
Miserable. Yeah. Yeah, it's a fine line.
It is. Such a bitch. Anyway, he says, "You're all real pains in my asses, you know that?" But he says fine. And he says, "Why don't you get up to the car?" But then it's interesting that he leaves some of the kids that are sleeping, and he's just like, well,
He
might
leaves
as well
like
not.
5 fucking kids. This is
Just don't.
unbelievable. And you
No.
can tell he looks back at them and he's like unsure. He doesn't just fucking do it. He
Mhm.
kind of looks back at him like, I guess it's only a short time. It'll be okay.
Yeah, let me just get these fuckers up to the cabin. Let me maybe hit a brewski on the way back. And, you know, he's thinking like he's definitely could be of age. He definitely looks a little 18,
Oh yeah. Oh, and he's
17.
a handsome son of a gun. He's
He's
very,
fine.
very good looking man.
He's fine. Not my preference, but, you
Oh.
know.
Everybody's a critic.
And then we see another shot of the killer potentially coming up to the children. They're sleeping in their sleeping bag. Killer takes the axe, and but we don't see anything after that.
Right.
Then Judy, who took the boy back to her bunk, is making out with him on the bed. I love when she says, well, why do you have to kiss so wet?
It's a very Judy thing to say.
Fucking typical princess. And they go back to kissing because I guess she got over the wetness until Mel shows up at the cabin. And so she says, quick, get under the bed. Mel asks if Judy has seen Meg. And she says that she saw her last go to take a shower next door. And that's the last time. And that was like after dinner at some point. Mel goes to find Meg next door, and the boy pops up from under the bed, and they're trying to get back to it. But I love that in this moment, Judy gets snubbed, and he says, you know what? I think it's time for me to beat it. And maybe not in this way, and maybe in that way.
Go give my wet kisses to somebody else.
To my hand in my boy bunk. Maybe play a game of ball. Maybe, you know, tickle somebody's face and, you know.
I do love it.
Boy prank.
You know she's not expecting that. She thinks she can do whatever the fuck she wants and get away with it, and boys will just fall all over themselves to get to her. I love that he does that. Hee hee.
Yeah.
Hoo hoo.
She is butthurt. And I love to see it. So then
Mel walks into the cabin and she all of a sudden falls out of the shower. Like as though she was frozen in air and like was all of a sudden released.
You know,
and she looks so fucking bad. I know she's supposed to be dead, but like she looks bad. I would take the B kid. Like she's really ugly in the scene. Like they really.
She was pressed up against that shower wall for so long, and then surprise. We need a pop out moment for a horror film. So Meg finally gives us this, and you know what? You got to see her naked, Mel. That's what she wanted. Here she is in all her glory.
And true Sleepaway fact, they cut between his reaction and her boop beep beep boop beep bop boop boop, like just and just like just keep cutting back to how awful she looks. I mean, like that like oh, I'd be so upset if I were her. Man, oh man. You know,
I love the fact. So we get Meg's death, we get the surprise, and then we cut right back to Judy, who's now curling her hair in the dark. She's like, "Well, gotta get the boys tomorrow."
She's always on it,
and
always at
she's
work.
doing that. But then the killer just pops open that cabin door, and Judy can't see who it is, but we can clearly see at least who it looks like. In my opinion, is it Angela in a wig? Is it Ricky? It's got to be one of these two.
It's like Ricky. It looks like Ricky with like a shrouded lady around him, like, but not quite. Like, kind of Ricky in a wig, but not quite. In my opinion, it's the second weirdest moment of the movie. It's like, what the fuck? Like, it's strange.
What pretty much happened is she doesn't know who it is until they get up close to her. And then she says, "Oh, it's you. What are you doing here?" And then she gets socked in the face. I love it.
That was
you know,
a really
and
good
honestly,
sound effect.
I've been waiting for Judy to get clocked since the beginning scene.
Long time coming.
Yeah. So she gets clocked, and then she gets a pillow over her head. She gets smothered, and then we get just like a shadowy figure with the curling iron go close to her, and then suddenly it opens, and then who knows what happens? Left up to the imagination.
Very
Judy
abstract.
screaming bloody murder. We're hearing singeing sounds, and her hands go up like. So finally, Judy gets it. And then
Point
she
of hope.
gets kind of like tossed between the bed. Her feet drop down there. And then we get the scene where Eddie finally arrives back at the old campers who were sleeping in their sleeping bags. But now the sleeping bags are turned inside out. And maybe the kids were too. There's just blood and fucking cotton everywhere.
Yeah.
So they must have been axed to death.
Yeah.
Eddie throws up because all the children are dead. Then
And
we
it's his
get
fault.
Ricky. Then Ricky goes back to the social because all of a sudden he may be feeling better.
So he gets something quick. So he gets like it looks like a beef jerky or something,
Yeah,
and
like a
he's
candy
walking
bar.
out. Yeah, and he's walking out by himself. It's night, and as he's walking, Mel, who has vowed to avenge his girl Meg's death, comes for Ricky, and he's looking for blood. So he pulls him basically into the woods and just starts beating him up. Like very like he pushes him onto the ground, and he's just like, yeah, why'd you do it? Why'd you do it? And then he does like one of these like baboon moves. And then if you look down, and Ricky is like bloodied and unconscious. You don't know if he's dead or not, but like he did some damage big time.
Yeah.
So Ronnie gets the phone call from Eddie, or from Eddie, who told somebody that these kids are dead. And Ronnie's like, oh, and he tells the other counselor near him to gather all the counselors together for a meeting, like an emergency meeting.
Mhm.
And then they cut back to Mel, who hears somebody coming after he beat up this child. He hears somebody coming. So he gets up and he runs right into the field where there's like a target. I think it's where they do like archery or something. And so he runs
Yeah.
like right in front of a target. And then he sees somebody and he says, it can't be you. And then he gets shot in the throat.
Love.
Love.
So a whole arc for Mr. Mel, who thinks he's finally caught the killer and is beating up this child, and then sees someone completely different who he didn't expect, and then gets shot through the throat. It's
just
amazing.
like, whoa. He must have been feeling a lot in that moment. He must have been feeling stupid. I hope, number one, I hope that's the first thing he felt, was really dumb. And then shock.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
just fear. I love that. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's feeling a lot.
Glorious.
Big.
Yeah.
So he's dead. They cut back to the counselors, who are all trying to come up with a plan. And they find out that they're trying to keep track of all the kids. And one of the counselors, I think Susie, reports that Angela and Judy are missing.
Yeah.
And then they find out that Paul and Ricky are also gone. So the counselors kind of team up into like twos, and they're going out and they're looking for these kids.
Yep.
They cut to Paul, who is by the waterfront, and he's waiting for Angela patiently, and he looks kind of like he's about to give up. But then she shows up, and her hair it's a bit messed up. She's been up to some things. That much is clear. And she tells him that she wants to go swimming. And he says, well, what about our clothes? And she says, take them off. He's like, all right. He's really jazzed in his Paul way. And then they cut back to the counselors looking. And in the meantime, the counselors have come across Ricky, who is still alive. He's still kicking. He's a survivor. They cut back to Ronnie and Susie, who are a duo who have paired up to look for the kids. And they're walking by the waterfront when they hear something. And they see a girl naked, sitting cross-legged, and we only see her back, and we see Paul in her lap, and she's caressing his head.
Kind of
And
like the two fathers. Yes.
that's a good point. So she's caressing his head, and as they get closer, I don't know if it's Susie or Ronnie, one of them realizes it's Angela, and they're like, oh, it's Angela. And they're calling her name, and they get closer, and she's not responding. And then we cut to a flashback of Aunt Martha, and she's
It's
talking.
a red top hat. She kind of looks like a clown, but
Oh, she does kind of look like.
not gonna lie. Makeup is white, and the lip is red.
Does look like a clown.
And what is that? Houndstooth? A picnic? Houndstooth dress? Wow.
She does look like a clown. She really does. So they cut to Aunt Martha, and she's talking in her way, and they're just showing her talking to somebody.
She like holds up a white dress to what looks like a kid with like bandages around their head.
Right. And she's talking about how she already has a boy. She already has Ricky. And so she's always wanted a little girl. And if she had a little girl, she would call her Angela. And another little boy just wouldn't do. So you're going to be Angela, right, Peter? Isn't that a nice name, Peter? And then we quick cut back to the current scene. Angela stands up. Paul's head rolls out of her lap, and she stands up, and she's fully naked, and she has an erect penis, and her face is, and she makes the most disturbing sound. And she's just standing there naked, fully erect. And they cut back to Susie and Ronnie. And Ronnie says, oh my God, it's a boy. And I'm like, that's the shocking part. A head just rolled out of her lap. A human head just rolled out of her lap. And she's covered in blood. And the big sticking point here is that she's a boy. And then boop, credits roll.
I wouldn't say fully erect penis, but a penis nonetheless.
You're right. It's a penis that is standing up. It's not a flat penis. I don't know if it's
Not-
fully.
It's not flaccid, but
It's pretty wild.
shocking.
It's shocking because you don't even have a minute to respond or fully absorb what just happened with Aunt Martha before that scene happens, and he stands up, and you.
Yeah. I think like it goes right back to the first scene for me, and I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? And then by the end, the culmination, I was like, the fuck am I watching?
I have never had a movie make me feel, honestly, no movie ending at all. And it's like Psycho, Friday, like none of these movies have ever made me feel as shocked as this ending. Where you're like, you just don't even know what's what.
Yeah.
It's like,
And in some instances, it all it kind of wraps up, but it's also like it's a shocking moment, and then it's also like, oh my God, so many things kind of make sense now. And then it's the Martha of it all. It's the callback to the moment with the kids in the bed, and now you're realizing in our unedited version, that it was Peter. And then Peter was the one touching, and then oh my God, there's a lot of epiphanies all at once.
yeah.
And it's not the fact that there's a dick on the screen, which is also kind of shocking for the 1983s of it.
Right? It's like, what? That's why I said in the beginning, like, if I would have saw this in theaters, I would have gone back absolutely and seen it again, just to like see it through the lens of it's Peter the whole time, and also just like, I just got to see that again. did I see that? Like, did that actually happen? It's just like bonkers. It is a really wild,
Bonkers.
like,
Bonkers. And the fact that, I mean, like, okay, special effects were good throughout the whatever. This is clearly like, this is a male body, but Angela's face is fucking on it. It's a, I should be this for Halloween. I should just, a little disheveled hair. Ah.
right? Like, the special effects makeup of this movie are astounding. And then this scene is like, what? Maybe they couldn't think of another way to do it. I did read they did like a plaster of her face. Like, they did a replica of her face, and so they just had a man who was wearing like basically her head, like a replica of her head.
Yes.
I'm like, was that the best way to do that? Wait, I don't.
They asked a fucking college kid to pose for this scene fully nude, and he had to get wasted to do this scene.
Like, and also, why did they have her do just that? Like,
Oh my god,
like,
so
why didn't
creepy.
they, like, was there no other way? First of all, the scene kind of lasts a long time.
Yeah.
And then,
It's
like,
like
they
a good
cut
10
back
seconds.
they cut back to Ronnie and Susie reacting like they do the whole fucking
Yeah.
movie just like back and forth, and just it's like,
Oh my
I
god, her face is terrifying.
it's so disturbing. It's so disturbing. I mean,
Just like blood all over her.
I mean, I will say I am so grateful because I've seen that clip of her face like
Yeah.
a million times. But nobody ever spoiled this movie for me. Nobody ever told me that. Like, I had no idea that this was this movie. Like, that's what happened. I didn't have the slightest clue, even though that is a very iconic face. I had no idea what I was in for.
It is insanity. And also, I didn't even realize that's probably the actor's tongue that's also moving. Like, in there. Her tongue is moving. I guess we can say now that Ricky's hand, the actor Jonathan Tiersten, it was his hands playing the role of the killings. So it was him holding the knife and Meg's back and the bees and all that stuff. So they wanted to make it more, I guess, like masculine hands, but still childlike. I don't. There's a lot of like. In the end, I'm confused by a lot. I'm concerned about a lot, talking about it, but also like this film is fucking whoa, you know?
That's what I like about it. You know what I mean? It's really
off.
unexpected.
It's off.
Quite. The whole thing is like, you just never know what's gonna happen. I don't think I've ever had
Never
quite a
know.
reaction. Like, I don't think I've ever had a reaction like that to another movie. Just like, it was unexpected. It was funny. It was weird. It was shocking.
Yeah.
Like, it was every single adjective I can think of. It was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But I really loved it. I really loved it, and I want more. I got to see the second one. But like,
Yeah.
it's just a wild ride from start to finish. From the opening scalped daddy to it's like, what? You just don't even know what's happening. You know,
It's
I think
fucking
it's one
insane.
of a kind.
It's one of a kind. It's insane.
So here at Stoli Doli Scaries, we do things a little differently. We rate our movies by how many Stoli Dolis it would take you to enjoy the film.
That's
It's very
right.
important, not to watch it, but to enjoy it.
To enjoy it.
Johnny, first time watcher, what's
First
your
time
rating?
watcher. You know what? I always have a lengthy discussion when it comes to my rating because I watched this movie with 0 Stoli Dolis. And I feel like that would be an accurate rating. However, I do feel like I would need one only for some of the themes that are discussed in here. It's hard to watch at times. We even had discussions about like just like over the phone, like, oh my god, I don't know if I can talk about this because like it was bringing up a lot of stuff for me, and also, my queer community, it's got a lot of trauma and some associated, even including myself, with childhood shit, and it's like that's rough.
It's a lot.
So I mean, I watched it fully with Zero, and I think one could be can get through some of the themes and make you enjoy it a little bit more as just a artistic film. And like I said before, I want to know more about fucking Robert. I need to understand his mind a little bit more because I need to figure out what he was trying to do, trying to say.
I am gonna give it 2 Stoli Dolis. I know. And let me say why. So I would normally give it 1. I love this movie. It's so good. But when I was doing my notes, I had 2 beers and it was so much more fun. I was just laughing. I was just like writing notes like left and right. Like it was just like so much more, I don't know, enjoyable and like exciting and funny. And like I felt like I appreciated it more with 2. And so I say 2. Although I could enjoy it with 0, but it's a lot of fun with 2. I think you can really get the most out of it with 2.
But 2 Stoli Dolis?
With 2 Stoli Dolis.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Thank you everybody so much for joining us. We love talking to you. If you enjoy our videos, please subscribe, please follow, please like. We really do appreciate it. It keeps us going, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, maybe you don't go to sleepaway camp.
Fuck yeah.